One man's debts are somebody else's assets. The world right now is holding a lot of money in debt instruments. It could be money market funds, it could be bond funds. And we were in an environment in which bonds went up for 40 years and everybody's comfortable, and there wasn't an inflation pressure. And so everybody thinks that cash is the safest place to be because they don't think about its buying power. And so what happens is you have to satisfy both the debtors and the creditors, which is difficult to do when you've got more. Okay, you got a lot of debt. Because if you pay that debt back in real money, in hard money, so the guy gets paid back the buying power that he lent, that is going to be really bad because you won't have enough money. So the easiest tax is to tax through the printing of money. That's because, like, nobody asked where did the money come from. You know, the checks came in and we're all happy. And we didn't take the money away from anybody, but you lose the buying power. So as you get the inflation for that, you get the behavior change. So still, like, you have to make a choice. Do you want to own that stuff or not? And so what happens is when you make that choice that you don't want to own it, you sell it. And so the amount of selling is not just the deficit. The government will have a deficit of 5 or 6% of GDP. It'll have to borrow. So that means it sells bonds or sells debt of 5 or 6% of GDP. But if others sell too, because they say, I'm not getting a real return, I'm not going to hold that, then you have a lot of selling. That means that either interest rates go up a lot and shut the thing down, or the government prints more money. And that's the mechanics. History's shown us, chapter 3, I think it is, called The Value of Money. And 100% of the time when they're in that position, they'll print the money. Here's the big thing that people think. Money and financial assets are not wealth. They're claims on wealth, but they're worthless. It has no value. It's not real. It's just like digital. It only has wealth, real wealth, if you sell it and you go buy something. It works as long as people who are holding those financial assets want to keep holding those financial assets, even though they're losing buying power to them. It's a Ponzi scheme. That's why if you look at history, even in the Old Testament, there was this idea of the year of Jubilee. What it meant is, okay, you always have these financial obligations rising relative to the other. It happened so often that they said, okay, let's just plan on it. Like every 50 years, we're going to have to wipe it clean. Old Testament in the Bible. Okay. And they said every year we're going to have to do it. And then it was a system actually where they would say, now that you know it's going to be wiped out in 50 years, you will operate as though it will wipe out in 50 years. And therefore you won't have the Ponzi scheme as much. But that is how the Ponzi scheme has always worked, right? So that's what it is. Now you have a choice. You can hold those things, but then as they start having bad returns and you're holding them, what are you going to do? How are you going to deal with that? I want to be first out, but that's why you can be writer. You can be writer if you go through the jungle like I'm describing with people that see things that you can't see and you're open-minded, you can be writer. That's why I say that the key to success is much more in knowing how to deal with what you don't know than anything you know.